What's going on, everybody? Welcome to another episode of Fandom Talk presented by Fandoms Anonymous. We're here again, as we are every Wednesday, with the latest and greatest and hottest news inside of the entertainment industry. So I'm joined, as always, by my two co-hosts. I got my man, Jeremy Branch from B Taylor Productions. What's going on, Jeremy?
What up? Glad to be here, guys.
And I got my man, Kevin Garlington from Pupster Photography. What's going on, Kev?
Hey, what's up? What's up? Let's do it.
Let's get on right into this. First of all, I want to jump off into something real quick. I don't know if you guys have seen him in a lot of different stuff, but the actor Powers Booth passed away not too long ago at the age of 68. I never knew him in anything else, but when I saw him on Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., I loved the presence that he brought to that show, and he just had a demeanor that commanded the scene, each and every scene that he was in. Have you guys ever seen anything that Powers Booth was in?
Oh yeah, man. He is one of the great character actors. The dude has been in more stuff than people realize. He's not, you know, it's a shame every time this kind of stuff happens. He's not one of these marquee names that ever was like you didn't go see a movie because Powers Booth was in it. But movies were as strong as they were because of actors like Powers Booth working in them. I never saw Deadwood. I'm pretty sure maybe one of you guys can speak to that. I've heard nothing but good things. But like you and I talked about, Malcolm, he was great on Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. But to me, and you know what I'll always know him as is his role in Tombstone, where he plays, come on, it's not Johnny Ringo. It's Curly Bill. And he's like the main bad cowboy in it, and his performance is fantastic. This is a movie that came out back in, like, the beginning of the 1990s, and as a matter of fact, Bill Paxton is in it too. So if you guys have not seen Tombstone, do yourself a favor, check that movie out. If nothing else, just strictly for Val Kilmer's performance as Wyatt Earp, as Doc Holliday. But that movie is awesome. So yeah, he's a presence that's going to be missed. Absolutely.
Most definitely. Kevin, did you ever check out any of his titles?
Oh, absolutely. Tombstone is probably my number one movie of all time, by the way.
Oh, nice.
You got that performance, and then I'll throw out one that our audience will be familiar with, which would be Sin City. And if I'm not mistaken, he was Cardinal O'Rourke in Sin City. If I got it correct. But yeah, he was a great character actor. One of those guys that popped up in a lot of movies that you go back and watch something, you say, wow, I didn't know he was in this. So, again, you know, another substantial loss in Hollywood this year.
Most definitely. Well, we're going to jump right into the listing we got today. The first thing we want to talk about is the good old, great, never-ending, no mistake-free DCEU. Apparently they're doing some Justice League reshoots. So that means they're going back, they're reshooting scenes, they're switching stuff around, trying to put this movie together for all of our viewing pleasures at the end of this fall. This is just typical news for the DCEU. It doesn't mean that reshoots are bad. It doesn't mean that just because they're doing reshoots that there's a problem. But knowing them, there's got to be something going on somewhere. Kevin, what's your thoughts on these reshoots?
Well, you know, I'll say this. So every big-budget movie pretty much does reshoots, okay? So for those people that are listening, reshoots is not the sign of the end. Mm-hmm. However, I will tell you this. What is alarming about this is the rumor report is saying it's been reshot so much that this is almost a completely different movie. Now, let me tell you why I think this is happening. I don't think these reshoots are going because they got to the end and realized, oh, this is crap and we need to redo it. Because every movie studio gets dailies. They see what's going on daily from what's being shot. I think with all the shuffling of the DC schedule and everything that's going on behind the scenes, and this character's getting the movie, this person is hot now, we're doing this, we're doing that, I think the future of the DCEU changed while this movie was in production. And I think whatever they had planned can't happen the way they had it happening because they're going in a different direction. I think that's really what this is.
Jordan, what's your take on the reshoot?
Yeah, I mean, to drive home what Kevin said, a lot of times they're referred to as pickups. Studios will literally allot themselves X amount of days, X amount of weeks once they go and they start Frankensteining together all this footage that they've shot. And then in the action they realize, like, just something so basic as in the movie Cape Fear, at one particular scene, Robert De Niro's character ends up back on the boat at the very end of the movie, kind of mysteriously. It never explains it, and audiences got confused. So what the studio did is they went back and they did this one little pickup where it was like his hand emerging from the water and grabbing onto the side of the boat. And it's like these little snippets of connective tissue that add so much subtext to the story. So when you hear reshoots, all of a sudden alarms start sounding in your head, and it's like, oh, shit, panic time. You know, there must be something going on. But with that taken into consideration, I also agree with a lot of what Kevin said about them kind of changing the course throughout the production of, I mean, because we've seen Warner Brothers is nothing if not like malleable. You know, they will restructure, they will reconfigure, and they will change things right there on the spot, right there on the fly, if they feel like it's the right thing to do. So I'm not gonna totally say, oh crap, the Justice League movie's going to be horrible. You know, we've talked about rewrites before. Maybe this version could be better than what they had before. But I just I had originally heard this is the second time that the movie had basically been reshot, and that what we're getting now isn't even the second version of the movie, but it's more like the third version. And then the next reports I read kind of played that down. So to be honest, I don't know how much of it is trustworthy from a anonymous source close to the production, you know, and that's where the quotes came from. So we can all speculate. The track record isn't great. I've heard good things about Wonder Woman, though, so let's keep our fingers crossed.
Absolutely.
Most definitely. So the next thing we're going to jump on is something that I saw, and immediately upon reception of this trailer to my eyes, I got mad. And I was like, please don't put this on TV. But it's coming to Fox this fall. We're talking about the Seth MacFarlane sci-fi, Star Trek, Star Wars spoof show, The Orville. This show's not going to last. Seth MacFarlane, to me, is somebody that belongs behind the camera in a writer's room with his comedic presence, not in front of a camera on a TV show such as this. Jeremy, what's your thoughts on this Orville trailer?
Man, that is so funny to me. Why do you think that Seth MacFarlane doesn't work in front of the camera? It's because he's like a smug-looking, small-chinned, like real pretty-looking dude, right? Like I couldn't agree with you more, Malcolm. The dude does not need to be leading anything. He does not need to be the main character in a show. I'm honestly not a huge Star Trek fan. No disrespect to people who like it. I understand the appeal of it. It just never really hit with me, you know. So I don't have the huge frame of reference, but I've definitely seen Galaxy Quest. I'm familiar with Galaxy Quest, so I've already seen the Orville TV show before. I did think the special effects looked pretty good. There was the joke at the beginning when he's like, can I have a piece of gum? And he threw it in his mouth, and dude's like, that's a marble, and he spit it out. I kind of got a chuckle out of that. I really like Seth MacFarlane's comedy. Like, you know, I love all of his animated stuff. I hated the Million Ways to Die in the West. I like Ted pretty good, so he's hit or miss. But yeah, when he's on screen, it bothers me, dude. I don't like looking at him. I don't like hearing his voice and it not being attached to Brian the dog. I don't know. So yeah, that Worf character is a straight up Drax ripoff. I think that this would work so much better as like a 5-minute sketch on SNL, or even like one 30-minute short as opposed to a series. I don't know how much legs something like this could even have, you know.
And that's exactly what it looks like. Now that you mentioned that, it looks like a big budgeted Saturday Night Live sketch.
Absolutely.
That's exactly what it looks like. Kevin, what's your take on this?
You know, I'm a huge Family Guy fan. Love American Dad. I think A Million Ways to Die in the West had some great, funny ideas. Okay, there were some gags in there that made me laugh out loud. The movie would have been better had somebody else been the lead character.
Yeah.
Okay. I'm with you guys. I like Seth MacFarlane better, you know, in the writer's room, behind the camera, you know, calling the shots and maybe lending a voice or two, which is why I enjoyed his performance in Hellboy, too. He, you know, actually, you know, brought that character to life.
Yeah.
And I think that he is great when he's part of an ensemble and it's not depending on him to lead but to add to what's going on. You take this TV show, you give me a better actor in the lead, and you make Seth MacFarlane the little guy that's the little goop or whatever that's on the floor he ran through, and just have him come in and out of the episodes or whatever, you might have a hit on your hands. Maybe. But I'm with you. This seems just like Galaxy Quest in long form, and I don't think you really want that. So I'm gonna
it's just I just don't think it's gonna last. I mean, I'm already ready for it. You know, there are so many other shows on television that deserve to be on TV. I mean, it is.
Yeah.
Then you got shows every day that are getting canceled, but they're green lighting shows like this, and it angers me. Like, for an example, an amazing show that I love that comes on NBC is called Timeless. I love Timeless. I absolutely love the show. But what happened was they canceled it. They canceled Timeless, and then they brought it back, and they said that it's going to come back out in 2018. But you got companies that are spending money and putting shows on TV like this, and it's like, oh my God. Let's keep the stuff that's good on TV and keep the stuff that's not good off. And I think with his relationship with Fox, it was easy for him to get this greenlit. You know, I think that was a big thing that probably helped the payoff in that. But
when you know they're getting Patrick Stewart involved also, you know what I mean? Like, that's a lock. Patrick Stewart
man,
into everything, you know.
Wow. But the next thing I want to drop a topic on right here, and this is something that really, really angered me. I mean, it just upset me so bad. And it's something I was talking with Kevin about the other day. The King Arthur movies. King Arthur, Legend of the Sword, starring Charlie Hunnam and Jude Law and John Hansu and a host of other people. It bombed at the box office. It bombed big time. But there's a reason why it bombed. To me, the movie was amazing. I got a chance to see it about 2 weeks early for a special screening. I thought it was amazing. It was something I'd never seen before. It was a new universe that I wanted to explore more, but it's not going to happen at all now. And it bombed because I realized that this movie was being done by Warner Brothers. And like me and Kevin were saying, all of this money that went to Wonder Woman to promote it left King Arthur high and dry. There was not a lot of marketing. There was not a big marketing push. You didn't see it everywhere. Like, you see Wonder Woman on drink cans and TV and posters. Everywhere you go, you see Wonder Woman. And to me, this movie should have came out earlier in the year or after the summer blockbusters. And I feel like it could have done a whole lot better. Kevin, what's your take on this? I know we talked about it the other day, but what's your take on this whole King Arthur ordeal?
You know, again, we talked about the studio putting resources behind, you know, their cash cows. And if you look at their studio, they got a lot coming out this year. There's a lot going on with Warner Brothers. But you got to sit back and look at this movie. We're talking about, we are technically in the summer. This is summer blockbuster time. And we're talking about a movie that virtually got no marketing, okay? Now, even with everything they did for Wonder Woman, there are still pages and pages of videos on YouTube, people complain that they're not putting any money behind that. And I see Wonder Woman stuff every time I turn on the TV. Last week, people were complaining that they weren't really marketing to women. They weren't putting the previews on Lifetime Network and this and that or whatnot. So I said to myself, well, they are. It's a double-edged sword, because when I say this, people are going to, you know, agree and disagree, and that's fine. People are saying they're not marketing towards women, but they're playing the commercials during the NBA playoffs. Okay, you're making an assumption that women don't watch basketball if you say that. You're making an assumption that women aren't tuning in to some of these other things. that go on and they're just watching Lifetime or whatever. And I think that's kind of reductive. So there's been six Wonder Woman trailers as of last week. 6 trailers for this movie, okay? I saw one King Arthur trailer in theaters probably 3 or 4 months ago, okay? If it wasn't for Charlie Hunnam and Guy Ritchie making the rounds on the podcast that I listened to, I wouldn't have seen any marketing for this movie. I think they did some late TV shows too. But that's it. They didn't push this film. They spent $150 million on this movie, and they didn't market it. So it tells me one or two things. They didn't like the way the movie turned out, or when they started this project, they had someone in charge at the studio, not the movie, but at the studio, and they were to change a heart on the leadership. And sometimes that happens. So to explain to some of the viewers, you may have a studio head who's in charge. A movie begins production. Studio heads come and go, and we don't necessarily get the news all the time, by the way. I couldn't name 5 studio heads right now. But these guys inherit projects that were from the last studio head, but they still have an active marketing budget. And they'll say, you know what? This is my project. So whatever I'm cutting the marketing budget for this movie, and I'm putting this towards what I'm working on. The things that the investors are going to hold me accountable for, i.e., now I'm in charge of Warner Brothers, and I have to deal with Wonder Woman, Justice League, and other films we got coming out this year. I'm not saying that's what happened. I'm saying scenarios like this do happen. I don't know what happened in the case of this movie, but I can tell you that it wasn't marketed correctly to make sure that everybody knew King Arthur was coming out. It wasn't handled right.
Yeah, I think that's like really good perspective. My main focus has been on the competition with Guardians of the Galaxy, but after listening to that, you make a really good case for the marketing thing. I think maybe like I had horse blinders on because, again, like you said, the podcast that we listen to, the kind of circles that we are in, we hear all of this stuff. But I am so shocked that Warner Brothers was willing to put $120 million into Guy Ritchie's hands after the performance of Man from U.N.C.L.E., which, by the way, I love Man from U.N.C.L.E. It does not have a great reputation. I think that movie is dope. I love the set design and the fashion of it. I think it's like got a cool soundtrack. Guy Ritchie is one of the coolest filmmakers working. I love his early work. That alone is a draw to me. But the Arthurian legend is a little bit tired. It's one of the few fantasy adaptations that we've seen multiple times, whether it be, like A Knight's Tale to Sword in the Stone to Excalibur, which came out in the 70s. We've seen this story time and time again. So I'm shocked that they were willing to give Guy Ritchie $120 million and then let him cast Charlie Hunnam in the lead, who, again, no disrespect to Charlie Hunnam. I think he's great. He looks like a leading man. Good on him. I think he's got a bright future ahead of him, but up to this point, he hasn't shown that he has the leading presence that's going to draw people in. And then again, they opened up within a month or within 2 weeks or within a week of Guardians of the Galaxy, which is just that's suicide. Like, when you've got, Kevin, it goes back to your point. If a family's going to spend their money to all go out and see a movie, they're going to see Guardians of the Galaxy and then whatever else is going on. So it never had a chance from the marketing perspective to just the budget that it would have had to recoup. It had so many things working against it. And what I find the most fascinating about this is Ritchie is attached to Aladdin, which is supposed to get into production next year. So I know that the Disney banner is going and the Aladdin name are going to sell that movie just fine, but I think that it's interesting that Guy Ritchie's still able to stay attached to these projects despite the fact that his movies have underperformed so badly.
Yep.
And for me, like I said, guys, I truly do recommend seeing this movie. I enjoyed it. It wasn't on my radar because there wasn't a lot of marketing. I saw, like Kevin said, I saw a trailer a couple of months ago in the movies, but it was not heavily pushed. So when I got the screening tickets, I was like, well, I'm going to go see it. My wife enjoyed the movie. She enjoyed it from beginning to end. Like I said, it's a really good movie. Like I said, I'm doing a giveaway on my King Arthur spoilers review. So if you check it out, you find the secret word, I will be sending you a King Arthur hat and poster. But speaking of King Arthur, Jeremy, what's going on with the weekend box office?
Well, I'm glad you asked. Every week we pretty much go over the top 5. No big surprises this week. We'll go ahead and look it over real quick. Again, it's pretty predictable. We've got Beauty and the Beast at 5. We've got The Fate and the Furious at 4. King Arthur coming in third with $15 million. Snatched is kind of the story because the Amy Schumer / Goldie Hawn comedy movie really grabbed some box office dollars on Mother's Day, so good on them for having the foresight to actually sell a movie on a day where it's female-driven. It's got the generational thing where you know who Amy Schumer is and mom knows who Goldie Hawn is, so there's a lot of built-in audience there. And then, obviously, number 1, making another $65 million is Guardians of the Galaxy. Real quick, I wanted to touch on what I think the interesting takeaway from this is it looks like Alien Covenant, which is the 8th entry into the Alien franchise, is projected to unseat Guardians of the Galaxy next week. So they're expecting that this R-rated 8th installment into a horror sci-fi franchise that's been running since 1979, 1980 to unseat Guardians of the Galaxy in its opening weekend. So that to me it's kind of telling of the times we're in, and as a matter of fact, I think we're going to have a pretty deep discussion about nostalgia at some point here in the future that you guys are going to need to check out. But there's something tapping into these old franchises that people have a connection to. Like if you ask around, there's not too many people that are going to tell you that Alien or Aliens are not bona fide classics, not even just of the genre, but like all-time filmmaking, those are in the discussion, at least as far as I'm concerned. So I'm eager to see this. I would love to see it do that kind of business. I'm going to be there. I think I'm going to go tomorrow to check it out. But and then the other thing I wanted to hit on real quick, and this is maybe something that we can open up into a discussion, but the 2017 box office could be the lowest in a decade. It's expected to only turn $4 billion in revenue, which makes it the lowest since 2007. That's a 5 to 10% drop-off from the previous year. Obviously, there's a couple of real obvious reasons to why I think this is. But, Malcolm, why do you think it is that we are seeing such a big drop-off at this year's summer box office?
Well, there aren't a lot of big summer blockbusters coming out. I mean, you got to look at what we got last year. We got Civil War, Suicide Squad, which did big numbers. Well, Batman v Superman doesn't count. We got some big movies last year. This year is really sparse. The biggest movies that we're going to see this summer is Guardians of the Galaxy. Will we count Fate of the Furious as a summer blockbuster since it came out in April?
Sure.
No. Okay. Well, yeah.
No.
It doesn't really. May is the beginning of it officially.
Okay,
Yeah.
so we'll go with May. So we got May, we got Guardians. Next month we get Wonder Woman. Then we get Spider-Man after that. Those are your big summer blockbusters. And of course, Aliens, and I know I'm missing a few other movies that are Planet of the Apes. And those aren't. I mean, if Fate of the Furious came out in May and June, they would definitely probably added to that amount. But there aren't a lot of big movies that are coming out. I mean, think about what we get next year. I mean, there are a slew of summer blockbusters coming out next year, but this year, not saying that the movies that are coming out this year are not good, they're just not in that pantheon of previous years.
Absolutely. Yeah, I can totally see where you're coming from. And then when you kind of talked about the start of the summer movie season, there's something to be said about that as well. Kevin, do you think the fact that studios have kind of started to push off of both the Christmas and the summer season and kind of start to encompass the entire calendar is going to affect a seasonal sale, but it might actually help the entire year?
Yes, I think that's kind of what's going on here. And I also want to say this. The fact that the studios are kind of spreading it out a little bit means for moviegoers like us, the whole year should be lit. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So
yeah.
Whereas we've historically said that January is a dumping ground for movies. Like if a studio has a movie they're not sure about, they put it in January and see what it can do. But if you rewind the clock, Taken, the first Taken with Liam Neeson was that January hit where studios started to take notice. You know, and then you come in, and then you got Deadpool comes out a couple years later in February, and then now stuff is kind of, you know, getting earlier and earlier. The calendar for movies is getting crowded. And it used to be you wanted a good 2 weeks before and a good 2 or 3 weeks after to let your movie breathe. The movie calendar doesn't work that way anymore. And you have to also look at this, too, now. One thing we haven't really talked about is, and this is going to be a longer discussion later on, is look at the streaming services and what you can get in your home.
Absolutely.
Because think about this. Daredevil Season 1 and 2, Jessica Jones, and then Luke Cage. Okay, then you got Defenders coming, and even Iron Fist, by the way. The weekend those come out, I typically don't go to the movies. I have my entertainment lined up in front of me. Now, those don't necessarily coincide with some of the blockbusters. They know better than to do that. But at the same time, when you look at your entertainment value, you've already paid for your Netflix subscription. So all you got to do is say, hey, this show, they're dropping all 13 episodes Friday. Guess what? Friday I'm putting my sweatpants on and I'm not moving. You know? So the way we consume our entertainment and the way we go get our entertainment has changed. Malcolm, you got a point when you look at this summer's movie list or whatever. It's not very exciting in terms of the whole list. So we're talking, we just had Guardians. We're going into Aliens. Then we're going to get, you know, some of the movies that we're going to talk about a little bit later. But when you look at this whole list and compare it to the last 5 summers, this is one of the weaker summers. And I'll tell you, the gravity is not here because we're all on the edge. I'm not blaming Wonder Woman for the whole summer. I'm just saying that Wonder Woman should be that other linchpin that locks the summer down, where we can say, damn, Guardians, Wonder Woman, and Spider-Man, but the DCEU isn't where we would like it to be at this point, so we're still kind of iffy. This may be a summer we look back on and say, hey, it was some good movies came out this past summer, as opposed to looking forward saying they're going to be great, you know? So that's what I think.
Yeah, absolutely. And then to just kind of put a button on it, and especially, again, in the circles that we're in and the communities that we're in, I will take superhero movies every day. But what about the moviegoer that doesn't want to see another Marvel or DC movie? What about the movie fan that doesn't want to go see the 10th live-action remake of a Disney movie or the number 27 sequel to some franchise? And it's like a lot of what's happening is all of these movies are essentially marketing to the same audience, and I think for them to evolve, we're going to have to see a renaissance of more diversity in filmmaking and to get some more, hopefully an independent revival, you know, similar to what happened in the 90s with Quentin Tarantino. But, you know, for now, I'm really happy to be in the middle of this boom. They are putting out quality films, you know, at a really accelerated rate, but I would like to see a little more originality. So we can go ahead and move on for that, but that's an interesting discussion.
Most definitely. And Jeremy, you brought something up, and we are in the midst of getting ready to produce something very, very big, you know, with all of these great minds coming together. So please be on the lookout. There's a podcast and a video that we're going to be doing. It's going to be featured heavily on both of our channels, so it's going to be amazing. Just take a look out for it. It's coming. One thing before we move on, Kevin, what's going on over there at Hustler Photography?
Oh, nothing much. Last Friday, I did a wonderful nighttime Daredevil shoot with my man @J on Instagram. It came out phenomenal. And we got a whole lot more cosplay stuff coming. I got some team-ups I'm getting ready to do with a couple cosplayers in the area. So just keep your eyes on @Hustler Photography, and we'll put some new stuff out there pretty soon.
And Jeremy, what's going on down there in Picola with B Terrible Production?
Ah, man, I love that. Just working on Movie Monsters. Releasing the 4th episode on Friday, which is soon. I don't know if it comes out today. It's the day after tomorrow. But excited about that. This weekend, I'm going to be in Hattiesburg moderating all the panels at Southern Geek Fest. This is their 2nd annual convention, and I'm looking forward to doing that. I just kind of alluded to Quentin Tarantino in the early 90s and stuff. That was kind of my my heyday of like learning to appreciate and love movies, and Kevin Smith was a big contributing factor to why I, am the way that I am today as far as my love for movies. So I'm real excited to be able to, be moderating the panel and doing a screening with Jeremy London, who starred in Mallrats, as well as Brian O'Halloran, who starred as Dante in Clerks. So it's going to be a great weekend. I hope to see you guys out there.
Most definitely, most definitely. Don't forget to follow these guys all over their social media. Of course, you will always see their links and their descriptions when you're watching Fandoms Anonymous. So we're going to move on to our next topic today. We're talking about Fox's new X-Men show, Gifted. The Gifted is what they're calling it. Kevin, you're a big X-Men man. What you think about this Gifted trailer?
Okay, so I was the one that said in the last episode when they did the teaser trailer, they didn't show us anything. So finally they gave us a full trailer. We still don't have the full story, but we do have an idea that this is a story about a guy, Stephen Mario's character, who seems to work for the government, maybe hunting mutants. His kids, teenagers, end up being mutants. And there seems to be an incident at a high school, and the kids are on the run now with their parents, okay? Now, there's a couple things in this trailer that I saw that piqued my interest, and I got to go into them real quick. First of all, did any of you guys see the black guy that works like he's working for the government? Did the front of his vest say something about Sentinels?
I'm glad you said that because I didn't want to cut you off because I was going to bring it up. But it said something along the lines of Sentinel Enterprises. That's what it said. That's what it said on his bulletproof dress. I know the first word was Sentinel, but I believe the second word was Enterprises.
Okay. One more thing.
I saw that.
A little bit. So with X-Men, the timeline always comes up because we always ask ourselves, well, when the hell does this take place? In the trailer, they say, we don't know if the X-Men or the Brotherhood even exist anymore.
Right.
Now, they could be doing an offshoot timeline and doing whatever they want to do. But if you want to compare this to somewhere in the movies as a theory, I'm saying this takes place sometime after X3. And the reason why is because Bryan Singer's connected to this. I know X3 wasn't his movie, but he was on the project until he left it. So X3 is the Brotherhood of Evil Mutants against the X-Men, okay, at the island where they had the cure. So if this movie's in the same universe as X-Men, it could have been after that because remember, that time period is something we haven't seen. So you have Wolverine go back in Days of Future Past. He corrects the future, and then we see what the future becomes in Logan. If you look at this trailer, that society looks very close to what could become a society in Logan. Again, that's just if we wanted to connect these. I'm not trying to say that's what it's going to be. I'm just throwing something out there. And then they do have some small robots that seem to be hunting people in this trailer. They're kind of circular, and they had legs almost like spiders. I mean, not as many legs as spiders, but like a circular spider with 4 legs. I kind of saw that. And there's one name, there's 2 things. Blink is in this trailer. X-Men Blink, she's in the trailer. And there was one name they mentioned at the end of this trailer. And I don't know if I'm reaching, but he said, where's Lorna? And he said, if you help me, I'll give you all the information on Lorna that you need. Okay. I don't know who Lorna is. If Lorna's the name of one of the characters, in this thing or whatever, okay, great. But if you're an X-Men fan and you hear the name Lorna, the first mutant you think of is Polaris, okay? Polaris is Magneto's daughter, and her first name is Lorna. So they could be talking about her. And for those that are X-Men 90s cartoon heads or whatever, Polaris has green hair, and she was going with Havoc when X-Factor showed up, I think in season 4. She was dating Havoc, and you see X-Factor show up, and she's there. But she controls magnetism as well, and she didn't even know she was Magneto's daughter until she was grown. So if they're hunting mutants out here and trying to find people, she could be in this show. Kind of makes me kind of excited. But all of that's just speculation.
I think you're right on point, dude. I agree with the timeline thing. I mean, of course, that's going to be like the first thing that runs through the mind of a fan when you're watching this because, it has all been so indecisive or like loosely connected but not really. But then you hear the X-Men theme in this trailer. This is a straight-up X-Men show. You know, it does take place in the quote-unquote Singerverse. We get to see Blink, who was in Days of Future Past. I don't know if is she a time traveler like Bishop?
Not that I've seen, but they could be doing something different. But in original canon, not that I know of, nothing I'm aware.
See, yeah, I knew that Kitty Pryde traveled back in time or whatever in Days of Future Past, and then I also know that Bishop is able to travel through time, like I think Cable as well. But
yep.
So I'm not sure how close to Days of Future Past the events would have to be unless Blink were pulled to the future or whatever. You know, there's so many possibilities there with the time travel and the timeline and stuff. But without getting too hung up on that, I really liked the trailer. You know, we all kind of just joked about it the first time. It's like there wasn't much of a trailer to even talk about. This time we get a lot better of an idea about what's going on. And you guys know who Pete Davidson is from SNL?
I don't.
He's like the real young, kind of lanky dude from New York. He's got a big gap between his front teeth. Anyways, he's one of the new cast members. I swear to God, that kid playing the lead looks exactly like a young Pete Davidson. And then there's another dude in there. He's like a Hispanic dude, and I swear to God, he's like an Oscar Isaac stand-in. Did you guys notice that?
You know what? Now that you say it,
I did.
It makes sense. I didn't notice it then, but now that you say it, yeah.
Rewatch it, man. It'll be the only thing that you see. I swear, like, there's certain angles where his face looks exactly like Oscar Isaac. Like, I'm looking at it in quick succession of shots, and I'm like, man, they just tried to do what they tried to get Oscar Isaac in here without getting him. But yeah, I think it's really cool. I like the fact that they're kind of bringing it back closer to the actual X-Men, because I love Legion. I think it's fantastic, but I didn't want to see another version of that. Even though there's obviously parallels, there's obviously always going to be that core theme of being an outsider, not being normal, not being accepted by society. That's going to be the cornerstone of every one of these storylines, because essentially that's what X-Men is. So I like that. I like that it shows the bullying aspects of it. I like that it shows that the girl is probably going to mentor him and like help him harness and control his powers. So I'm excited. You know, I'm going to definitely give at least the first couple episodes a watch. Like you said earlier, Malcolm, there's so much good stuff out there. But if I get hooked in those first couple episodes, I'm on board.
Most definitely, most definitely. Another thing we want to jump on today is the Transformers final trailer. I did a little small video on the fact that they're driving in this movie that Transformers have been a part of history for thousands and thousands of years. It's like they keep driving the real deal Transformers lore in the ground. Why can't we just get Transformers movies that deal with the real Transformers history? Like, what is the issue? Jeremy, what's your thoughts on the whole? That's my only thing about Transformers. I like the Transformers TV cartoons and the animated series have more Transformers lore than these big budget multi-million-dollar movies. And to me, that's a problem. I'm still going to go see this movie because just like Fate and Furious, it grabs us and sucks us in, and we're like, oh, just like I mentioned last week, that McRib comes back, and all of a sudden it's the best thing popping in McDonald's, and we go back and eat it again. So, Jeremy, what's your take on the Transformers?
I know it's not an episode of Fandom Talk until a sandwich analogy comes up. That's what I know for sure at this point. Man, there is some good imagery in the new Transformers trailer. We've all said before, Michael Bay can direct some action. There are definitely some visual elements of this trailer that were working for me. That said, it all looks borrowed from other things. I think what's going to surprise everybody is when they realize that Charlie Hunnam is actually parts of the Knights of Round Table with the Transformers, and that it's all taking place in Westworld with Anthony Hopkins. And you know what I mean? It's like what they did essentially.
That's the dopest thing you've ever said on this podcast, by the way.
Thank you. What it feels like to me is that they have a writer's room of 20 people, and what those 20 people's job was is to go steal a script from every other summer movie that's come out in the past 20 years and actually feed that to a robot, and what the robot craps out is Transformer movies. So a lot of it works because a lot of it is proven to work. This is corporate studio, market research, assembly line filmmaking at its core. There is nothing more assembly line and basic than these Transformers movies, but it seems to work just fine with people, especially internationally. So what do I know? You know what I mean?
Now, Kevin, what's your feeling about Transformers?
I'm just gonna keep it short and sweet. I've enjoyed the visuals because, like Jeremy said, we know Michael Bay can put a camera somewhere and make something happen. He knows what he's doing as far as coming up with that. Michael Bay, they're not making this movie by committee. They are using the market research like Jeremy's talking about, and that's not what I mean. It's not a bunch of, it's 20 writers in there, but Michael Bay's in charge. Just like they brought up the fact that fans are saying, hey, you should cross this over with G.I. Joe and make it work. Michael Bay said, not while I'm doing it. Michael Bay is in charge because he's put out several billion-dollar movies. The reason why you don't have the lore and all the backstory and everything that you want from these movies is because Michael Bay is in charge. He doesn't believe in it. He doesn't think it's funny. And in his mind, he can't get off the fact that Transformers really don't have a connection to Earth like he's trying to make it have. Okay? So the fact that they're putting all this lore on Earth and everything is just them trying to fit into the story that Michael Bay wants to tell. So my only rule that I have for most movies is follow your own rules. Okay?
Yeah.
In the first film, if you look at the first film and the rules they set up, none of the stuff they're showing you now makes any sense. Okay? So they're not believing their own BS, and I'm not buying it either. I'm going to go see it, but begrudgingly because I have a 5.
Then you are buying it.
No, I have a 5-year-old.
Whatever.
Man, so, yeah, you got to do what you got to do. Hey,
that's
Jerry,
right.
If your dog wanted to go see Transformers, your ass would be there, so don't tell me that.
No, you're right. You're right.
Another franchise that's coming out that my man Jeremy pinnacles as could possibly go in the pantheon of greatest trilogies ever is the new Planet of the Apes movie that is coming out this summer. This trailer to me is phenomenal. I mean, they capture so much, and they are not giving any of this movie away at all. They're keeping it so tight to the point where you're going to have to go see this movie if you want to see the next part of this franchise. I saw the first one. I haven't seen the second one. It is something I'll probably catch up on. I just got my Roku player back, so it's on and popping. So I'm definitely interested in this third installment. Kevin, what's your take on this new trailer for this upcoming Planet of the Apes movie?
Hey, it's going to be great. I'm with Jeremy on this thing. This trilogy, now go with me on this. This trilogy has the potential to be one of the greatest, most recent sci-fi trilogies. Okay? A lot of times you see like a different quality in movies, or you see something that's kind of off the rail. And I'm telling you, from the first one to the trailers for this one, it's been quality all the way. So I'm looking forward to this thing. I don't need to see anything else. I don't need any story points. Just put the movie out. I'm ready.
Jeremy, what's your take on this new Planet of the Apes?
Absolutely, highlight of this week's movie news to me. I will often say that I don't think I'm the best at reacting to trailers, so a lot of times I don't even try. It doesn't even cross my mind when I go to watch trailers. But it dawned on me, like as I'm sitting here watching War of the Planet of the Apes, this is the kind of reaction that people just they get into it, because like I my mouth was like on the ground. The purpose of this show isn't to get too political. That's not my point in this, but I love how unapologetically potent the allegory is in this whole series. A story is only as good as its themes, and if it moves you emotionally, then it's a good story. I mean, there's a lot of other elements that go into it, but fundamentally it has to speak to us on a human level. And I think that what War of the Planet of the Apes does so well is give validity to both sides of the argument. You can kind of see where the soldiers are coming from. They don't want to forfeit the world to these Frankenstein monkeys that they accidentally created in a lab. But then these monkeys are just looking for like a peaceful way to exist. And Caesar says, you know, we didn't start this war. And that line, that ape together strong, like ever since they used it the first time, that's like the motto for the whole series. And oh man, just that first movie, it wasn't real. Like I wasn't locked into it until Caesar started to realize what was going on, and his gears started turning, and he started like earning the trust and the allies with the other apes inside of the jail cell. I thought that was just brilliant, and the way that they're able to make CG creatures seem so tangible and touchable and real and like integrated into the acting and everything so well. It's very, very visually impressive. It's emotionally resonant. It's fantastic action. And I mean, yeah, we look at the Dark Knight trilogy. 2 excellent entries and a third one that just, it wasn't as good as the other 2. So, you know, as great of a trilogy as it is, it has a little bit of a weaker link in it. Look at the original Star Wars trilogy. All 3 amazing films. Return of the Jedi has some kind of issues with it that a lot of Star Wars fans just overlook because they love the trilogy so much. I look at Lord of the Rings. To me, that's the gold standard of trilogy filmmaking. I don't think that there's a better one out there. I understand people's love for Star Wars. I'm not taking away from that. I look at Captain America, his trilogy of films, really solid, man. That first one doesn't quite, elevate it to what the next 2 did, but so if it's not in the top 5 best trilogies of all time, it's going to be in the top 10. I mean, I cannot see a future where people are not looking back on this trilogy just really fondly. So yeah, I could go on and on about it, but I'm excited about this movie.
Most definitely. We're going to keep it going. Our next topic that we're discussing, and close to our last, is a topic that we're doing today really just for laughs. I don't understand nothing about why this exists. I understand how it came to be. The emoji trailer for the Emoji Movie. Now, when I say I understand how this came to be, I feel like they're pulling along that premise that we got with the Lego Movie and how everybody thought it was going to bomb, but it was amazing. And the premise that everybody got when it came to Angry Birds, and it was an amazing movie. This is going to be some crap. I mean, I'm just going to call it out like it is. And, oh, man, I'm going to start with Jeremy first because I know Kevin is going to rip this thing to shreds. I don't know for sure, but me knowing Kevin, he's going to rip this thing up. So, Jeremy, what was your thoughts on the Emoji trailer?
All right, guys, here I am to be the good cop real quick. F this S and the A. Just straight up, like, there's nothing in this movie that I want to see. I liked it better when it was called Inside Out or Pixels or what was the other one? Wreck-It Ralph or, like, it's like all of these movies they're just recycling the same old crap. And the Lego Movie is awesome. That's the one thing that you can go to and be like, but it can be done. You can do it well. But Emoji Movie to me just sounds like people in suits trying to market cigarettes to little kids. You know what I mean? Like, it's just crazy. They will feed you any garbage that you will eat, and that's where we're at in this movie industry that we're in now. I will say a lot of the voice talent is very talented comedians. I've got a lot of respect for people with comedic timing. It's not an easy thing. Making people laugh is not an easy thing to do. So, like, props to the people that they have involved. There's a bunch of really good ones in it. But that line at the end when Patrick Stewart and his son are, like, chanting, "We're number 2," that's right. This movie is a big steaming pile of number 2.
I ain't gonna lie. A lot of this stuff I laugh. And, of course, we knew the poop joke was coming. It's the Emoji Movie, and it's one of the emojis that you use when you're trying to, come across whether you're being vulgar, whether you're being funny. You know,
yeah.
I knew it was coming. And I really laughed at that part. I'm not going to lie. I thought it was hilarious because it was like they were proud of the emoji that they were. Kevin, go ahead, man. I'm ready for you. Go ahead.
Okay. Now, Jeremy already kind of greased the skids or whatever, but so I'm going to play devil's advocate, not because I feel this way, but because I kind of see what's going on here. Boss Baby, Minions, okay, The Good Dinosaur. I'm going to take The Good Dinosaur off that list. But Boss Baby and Minions. People hate the Minions movie. Not the Minions themselves, but the Minions movie. That movie killed it at the box office, okay? Boss Baby. I hated every trailer for that movie. We just got it out of the top 5. So there's a real lack of kids movies. Not necessarily, I know Beauty and the Beast came out, but I'm just saying, like, if you look at this summer, it's not a whole lot. And it's right. This is the studio's attempt to grab children. However, I think it's one of the smartest things that's been done in a while. And I'm going to give it props on this premise right here. The three of us on this phone did not grow up with cell phones. Cell phones was something that we adapted as we got older, and now we all have them, but it's not something we grew up with. My son is 5. My son grew up with smartphones and emojis, okay? He's used to seeing those. And I think if you want a way to connect with these kids and give them a story that's a little bit different, you give them something that kind of connects with them on an everyday level, and I think you do this emoji thing. Now, listen.
I do agree. I mean, that's definitely valid. I think that the recognizability, the brand awareness, and then also the Candy Crush reference right in the middle. We know that right now mobile gaming is almost outselling console gaming, so there's a huge market to tap into there, and I think that's a great point.
It's a huge market to tap into when you realize that you don't have to have a device-specific texting app to have emojis. Every device, every smartphone has emojis. Motorola.
That's a good point.
So I see the appeal to doing this. What I don't know is if the script has any merit, and it doesn't look like it. That's my point. Is it's okay to take this emoji out there and run with it, and it could be a marketing thing and it'd be great. But did you just do a cash grab, or did you deliver a really good movie? And that's my thing. That's the only thing outside of what Jeremy said that I just play devil's advocate to say, hey, there's something to this,
And I feel like it does have a good premise. I really do. I feel like it does have a good premise. Like when it first started off, the guy saying, I don't want to be the myth. I want to be something else. I have other emotions. So when it came along that line, I was like, you may have something. And then the rest of the trailer came, and I was like, oh, nope, nope. So other than that, man, we've gone over some amazing topics today. We thank you guys for joining us as you do each and every week. Jeremy, where can everybody find you at?
Be Terrible, guys. Check out BeTerrible.com. Check out Be Terrible on Facebook, at BeTerribleProductions.com. Check out Be Terrible Movies on YouTube. And I'm Jeremy Be Terrible at Twitter and Instagram. Look forward to seeing you guys at Southern Geek Fest and back here same time, same place next week.
Most definitely. Kevin Garlington, where can we find you over there at Hubster Photography?
Hey, man, you can find me at HubsterPics on Facebook and at HubsterPics on Instagram.
Most definitely. Guys, if you don't know who we are.
Daredevil photo shoot, and it is fantastic, Kevin. I was literally looking at that when we were talking about the Emoji Movie, and those pictures are great.
Hey, thanks, man.
Yeah, absolutely.
Most definitely. And guys, if you don't know who we are, we're Fandoms Anonymous. That's FANDOMS ANONYMOUS. We're all over social media, right here on YouTube. Don't forget to hit the subscribe button to this channel, and don't forget to hit the notification bell for future notifications. Also, head over to Facebook and join our Facebook group where we have discussions each and every single day, and hit the like on our Facebook fan page. Head over to Instagram where we're at Fandoms_Anonymous17, and over at Twitter where we're at Anonymous_Fan17. Guys, thank you for watching. Got a lot of new stuff coming up in the channel today. Got some awesome one-on-one interviews and a special celebrity edition of the one-on-one series that'll be dropping on the channel tonight. But guys, as I always say, if there is anything else, thanks for watching and have a good one.
Fandoms Anonymous.